All right, we are now. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you guys out there? Hi, and Lisa, how are you? How have you been since last week? Got any exciting things or something you want to fill us in on?
Oh, well, it was beautiful to see New York, or the northern New York side, countryside was just
Morning.
beautiful.
Good morning.
So,
How are you guys out there?
beautiful to see New York, or the northern New York side, countryside was just beautiful.
I had a little echo there. So it wasn't raining the whole time. I think you told me when you were helping your friend, you were helping her move in the rain. Is that right? But then did it get
Yeah.
nice after that or before that sometime?
Well, for the 2-hour window that we really needed to move important things, it literally quit raining between that 2-hour window by we had movers helping coming at 10 o'clock, and it stopped raining at 10:05, and then it started raining about 5 minutes before noon when they had to leave. So,
Oh my gosh, talk about that's a God thing right there.
oh yeah, totally. No, totally a godsend. And everything about that move was definitely, God blessed all of it. So
That is
it
wonderful.
was really fun that way.
Excellent. Well, that is, I'm glad to hear that. And let's see. So let me see what's going on here in Kansas City. Actually, I've been really surprised. The mornings have been so nice. By about 3 in the afternoon, the humidity's at full force, but it hasn't been as bad. There have been a few really horrible days, but the mornings have been so nice. And you'd be really proud of me, Lisa. I've been walking with Bill, with the dog, most every morning. So I'm getting in a habit. I'm not going that far, but it's about a mile. We've been doing about a mile. And when he walks by himself, he's with me. So having to get shortchanged on her walk. But it is interesting. And there are 20 steps from the main floor when you walk in the door, 20 steps straight up to the apartment. So I'm doing my own step class going up the stairs. So I'm figuring this is a thing to be grateful for. So this might be our segue right into our topic of the day.
Yes.
Is that living here when I was in the apartment. So I'm going to do a little explanation for those of y'all who are in Kansas City. So these are the Bloom apartments and townhomes. They're right at 61st and Neiman. If y'all know where that is, if you're from KC, you know where that is. And they're brand new buildings. My son is the company that developed them, he and his partner, and they're beautiful. They're so awesome. And when he started, said, well, Mom, we'll work with you. You can come live in, you can come live in one of the things, and it's furnished. They have a couple of them that are done kind of like VRBO things. And he said, the only downside is you have to go upstairs because they have commercial on the bottom, like retail shops. And then you go upstairs, and then the townhomes have the 2 levels. We're just on 1. And I'm thinking, like, I haven't lived with steps in 10 years. And like, I'm going to go up 20 stairs, and, we go up and down multiple times a day. So it's not like you just go upstairs in once time. But the gratitude comes in is that I'm actually doing it. It's not killing me, which I thought it might. And by the end of, like we figure we're going to be here 6 weeks. We've been in 1 so far. So we got 5 more weeks to go. I should be in much better health when I leave.
Yes, you will be much better. Yeah. Even just helping Lynn move, and her house had 4 stories, 3 sets of stairs. And I'm like, I came home, my legs are buff.
Oh.
to say the least.
So. And sometimes it's kind of more fun just doing life. My sister, who was a personal trainer for over 25 years, and she used to say that her goal was to just train people so they could go and enjoy their life, have them in their training so they can go bike riding with their kids, or, mountain climbing, or whatever it is they wanted to do, to be in good enough shape and health to enjoy doing the fun things in life. And I thought, well, that makes a lot of sense, right? Not just, why be healthy and buff just to be, you want to make it enhance your life or something. for sure.
But I'm glad you're grateful for it, because 6 weeks is a while.
It is, but it's amazing. Within the second day, because we literally with our various, we brought 3 carloads of stuff here, thinking that we could be in an apartment situation for even up to 3 to 6 months. We just really had no idea how things were going to work. So we have our winter coats and stuff. They're still packed. You know, we don't need them out right now. But we
Right.
kind of prepared for this. So when we move some of our stuff in, not furniture, of course, but just our favorite tools to cook with and those things, it actually kind of feels like home. And I like it so well that I'm thinking, wouldn't it be nice just to have all new? You know, why do I need all that stuff in the pod? After 6 weeks, I may realize I don't even need all that stuff, right? Just lock it up.
Yeah, no, we could live definitely without a lot of stuff. So
Yeah, and I think that really is the point. Could we live in a more simple manner? So this
I'm
was-
excited about our topic today, though.
Yes, and this was Lisa's topic. I said, so Lisa, what you think? You got something in mind for tomorrow? And she says, well, how about flipping negative? See, how did you say it? Flipping negativity into positivity
Yes, through gratitude.
through gratitude. So talk to me, Lisa. What made you think of that, and how does that work?
Well, so negativity can be something that we grow into, or grow up into, or programmed into, or sometimes we just settle into it. And so, you and I have had several conversations about negativity and its effects on our life. And I thought, well, how do you fix that? And so the thought came to me is like, you just flip it over by using gratitude. And so then I started, after I talked to you about this, I started looking, and there was a lot of stuff about it.
So what are some of the things that you found about that?
I found that, so an interesting thing that talked about was a study on gratitude, and they talked about gratitude actually reversing negative thoughts. But one of the things they said about gratitude was that those who kept a gratitude journal, and this is based on 40 studies over the past decade, that those who kept a gratitude journal reported long-term well-being that had increased by 10%. Now, that's kind of interesting, but the better interesting part about that information was that it was equal to doubling your income. In other words, the increase in happiness was the same as doubling your income.
Wow.
Yeah, and I thought that's pretty powerful. So
yeah, that really is, because if you double your happiness, I mean, that's pretty amazing just to think about that. And if you're a pretty happy person already, it's like, oh my gosh, if you're already a pretty happy person, chances are you are being grateful and appreciative.
Yeah, and they said 10% increase because doubling your income gives you a 10% increase in happiness. A lot of people think that money buys happiness, but it does not.
Yeah.
And but I thought it was like, we're all working towards increasing our income. How easy would it be to keep a journal just to increase our happiness?
Yeah, that's a great thought. I would never really have equated the two, from gratitude and happiness. However, the thing that I really realize is that gratitude, when you're grateful, first of all, it's hard to be negative. If you're really looking at life and being grateful, in order to do that, you're looking at it from a different perspective. Because people who are negative, or if you have those negative times, people who are negative are always looking at the bad. Okay. So I'm going to just admit, I've been in a weird place these last few months, and y'all know I've been pretty upfront with you. The negative, there are quite a few negatives of moving to Kansas City, being the humidity and the bugs and the heat, blah, blah, blah. So I know they're there, and I do talk about them some, but I have to watch myself, because I don't want that to be what my focus is. Because the good thing is one of the things I'm really grateful for with this is the fact that I get to see the kids. Yesterday, Bill and I were out and we just stopped in to see Alicia. You know, it was like for an hour, we just stopped in and, you know, saw Henry and saw her garden. And that is so much to be grateful for because I haven't had that opportunity. So oftentimes when you're, you know, maybe you're not exactly happy with where you are in your life right now, or there's a certain area of your life. When you look at it, well, what is there that I can be grateful for? What are the good things about this particular situation? It changes your whole mindset and it changes how you feel when you're like, oh, gosh, I got to see Henry. I would have had to wait another 3 or 4 months to see Henry.
Well, and another interesting thing that from this article was that it said gratitude makes people like you more. So in a study, so you know, we're always trying to network, right? And we're like, how do you network? And well, if people don't like you, networking doesn't go so well.
Absolutely. Yeah, who wants to be around a negative person? I mean, I just don't keep negative people in my life, you know. So
yeah, and so it says that it gives you about 20% more social capital.
Wow, it's so interesting that they can actually put numbers on this. You know,
well, you know, numbers are mainly to help us get a picture of and understand the impact, but I don't, you know, how accurate some of these numbers are, but it gives us an idea.
Oh yeah, no, I find it really interesting. That's great.
And then another interesting thing is gratitude makes you healthier. So there's some interesting things about why that is. Evidently you get sick less. You spend more time exercising, they've noticed, with gratitude. Like you'll go out and walk or do things that you might not normally have done. They say that people sleep 8%.
Or whatever, go up the 20 steps up to the
yeah, they sleep better.
Okay.
And they have better sleep quality by 25%.
Wow. And I can really understand that. I've always thought, and I think I've said several times, that negativity is like a cancer. And sometimes if people start out in one area where they're really negative, let's say about their job, well, then pretty soon they're negative about their family situation, which they're blaming on their job. And then pretty soon they don't even like what the pastor's saying at the church because they're so negative about their life and their family. And pretty soon they just are a negative person. And then they don't have any friends because who wants to be around somebody who's so negative all the time? And
and a lot of people, we fall into negativity because we think that if we're not worrying, we're not doing. Does that make sense?
Say that again.
If we're not worrying, we're not in action, you know? If I think all is well, then maybe you're being too complacent.
Oh.
And so the interesting part about that lie is that it's just the opposite. Gratitude gives us more energy, because I'm a big person on energy since I have to manage mine pretty carefully. And I'm a Pollyanna, so I'm like, most of the time in my life, I'm like, if Paul says the cup's half empty, I'm saying it's half full. Also, you know, and
yeah.
And so the thing about that is it gives me more energy to move forward. So gratitude makes us more optimistic, of course. And then an interesting study was that it reduces people's materialism. So I think that might relate to the fact that we may be thinking negative about our income, but much are we blessed? I mean, if you start thinking about the rest of the world, how much are we blessed? And I just think that many of us, even in our lowest incomes, have been better off than many around us. And so once it reduces materialism, I think you can enjoy what's there. And then that leads to the other thing that they noticed about gratitude was that it makes you more mindful. Isn't that interesting? People who had gratitude lived in the moment more than past or present. I mean, past or future.
Future. Yeah, and that
So-
again, that does kind of make sense, because if you're living in a state of gratitude, if you're looking for those things to be grateful for, you're paying attention, you're being aware. It's like, the miracles that God gives us every day, are we paying attention? And just whether it's conversations, on the phone, or you run into somebody, or you meet somebody, and you're in the moment. I think that makes a lot of sense, because to be grateful, you have to be paying attention to what to be grateful for.
Yeah. Well, and that rule about when you're paying attention for blessings versus paying attention for negative things, we always notice more because now we're paying attention. Remember when you're looking for vans of a certain type, and then all of a sudden you see, Ford vans everywhere because you're looking at a Ford van or something like that. When Paul and I were looking at trucks, and we were kind of toying around with the Ram truck, it just seemed like everybody owned a Ram truck.
Yeah, and
So,
that has a name, doesn't it, Lisa? That
and I can never remember it.
Yeah, me either. So I figured you probably could. But it is weird about that. No matter what it is that that you've had your mind on, as in the Ford truck, or when I was buying our SUV, like, okay, what? I started seeing them everywhere. I thought, well, gee, doesn't and that kind of goes with that saying of, well, what you think about, you bring about. That fits in with that, as well as what your body will, you will move in the direction of your most prominent thought. So if your most prominent thought is looking for blessings and looking for the good in people, looking at the things to be grateful for, then that's how your life will move, and you become more positive. I think the more grateful that we become.
Yeah. Now here's an interesting study too, that was gratitude helps marriage. So there was a lot of studies about the fact that when we become dissatisfied and we focus on the negative parts of our relationship, then they become big and huge to us. But they found that gratitude flips that relationship when both are keeping a gratitude journal and writing about each other and what they appreciate about it. I thought that was really profound.
That is. And because those couples that you've seen out that just kind of pick at each other. And at first you kind of think that it's just, little playful stuff. But if you're around them very often and you begin to realize, it's not really in fun. It's really hurtful. It can turn hurtful pretty fast.
Well, and we can get pretty ultra focused on minor negative things. Like my daughter asked me one time, she's like, well, doesn't this bother you? You know what dad does? Sure it does. But I've learned to not worry about the minutia and focus on, well, he does this well, and of course he has things that I don't do well. So that was the other thing.
No, Lisa.
No, women are perfect.
Can't be true.
No. But the interesting thing about the study was how significant the number was of people who had turned their marriage around just by complimenting each other in the marriage and starting to focus on what that person did each day. So the gratitude has that power to flip things around and reprogram the brain.
Yeah. And and sometimes it's amazing, just the little things that, so it's easy in a marriage, or I think in any kind of relationships, to, like you say, if somebody does a particular thing that really bugs you, but if you, like you say, if you flip that and you think, so why am I friends with her? What is it, or he or she, whatever the case may be, what is it that drew me to this friendship to begin with? And if you go back and start thinking, well, whatever that might be, she's always so thoughtful. She does these little things. She might do this over here that I don't like so well, but all of these other things. And we start looking at the sometimes you go back to the why, how did you meet, and why did y'all become friends in the first place? Why did you get married in the first place? That is, what are those things? And sometimes just remembering those little things, like I'm going to just say, Bill, I really am just so blessed. I speak about him, fairly often. He does have some things that bug me, so I'm not going to tell you all that he's perfect. However, the things that he does well are so much better. I mean, the list of those are better. And this morning he knew we just moved in the apartment. We haven't really figured out, where I'm going to do Zooming and all that. This is my, first one since we've been in the apartment. And so this morning, he had already taken my computer, and because I'd had it over just plugged in by the couch where I was sitting on it last night, and had it here on this little table that's here in the kitchen area, and brought the monitor
That's so
over,
cute.
just had it right here. It's like, well, honey, that was so nice of you. You didn't have to go to all that trouble. I said, it was no big deal. I knew you had your show. I mean, that was a pretty cool thing that he just anticipated, knowing that I would need that. And then I think sometimes too, as part of the gratitude is not even just saying it. Saying it is important, but showing the gratitude to the person, and maybe you do something for them that shows you how much you appreciate them. And I'm not talking about buy a gift or something, or buy flowers, you could, whatever, but do something for them. And if they comment it and just say, well, you always do this for me, I wanted to do something for you. So when you begin to really be grateful and show them gratitude, it makes a big difference.
Well, they had a simple exercise, which was just write 5 letters and make sure it took you about 5 minutes to write those letters to significant people in your life. And they said even just doing that made people realize what they had in, a blessing in their life. And it's those type of exercises are really simple. And then here's one that really probably will resonate with you, is that gratitude increases your goal achievement. And I was thinking that would be more along the lines of self-esteem. I think this is probably the hardest one for us sometimes, which is to love ourselves, have that gratitude.
Yes.
For ourselves. But they said that as you are working on a gratitude journal about life and about yourself, that you'll meet your goals better.
That actually is very interesting, because I think, again, what do? We're so negative oftentimes to ourselves and don't look at the good things and how God created us, those things that set us apart, whatever that may be, your goals, your talents, and gifts that you have to share with other people. And instead of being grateful for those, we tend to say, well, I'm terrible at this, or I'm terrible at that. It's like, well, why focus on those negative things? It goes back to the scripture, love your neighbor as yourself. And love who you were created to be. So oftentimes I think people are so afraid, and society, doesn't help with this. They want you, society in general, the world out there wants you to feel bad about yourself. Y'all have heard me say this before, because then they actually have more control of you. If they can get you feeling bad about yourself, then you're going to buy their products. You're going to do these other things. Whereas if you really love yourself as Christ loves you, and are grateful for the gifts he's given you. So being grateful that you can see, that you have a car, that you can go buy groceries, whatever, the things that you do every day, sometimes we overlook them, and being grateful for those, and grateful that I can actually climb up the stairs. It's like, oh, I really can't do this. So I think it's so important.
Yeah, well, and the other thing is that, so the last one was the gratitude helps you face challenges in the future. So if you have practiced an attitude of gratitude and you've reprogrammed your brain, then when problems do hit you, you have a better chance of overcoming.
Mhm, mhm.
So if you've already worked on programming and flipping that negativity out, now when you do have something, like for instance, when my grandmother went blind and she still had children at home and was a single mom, um, that would be something that could be very hard to face. Um, and grandma was more of a positive person, and I think that's part of why she became the first telegraph worker who was blind.
Really?
Yeah, well, and remember back then you plugged it in to holes,
Uh-huh.
and she went in and practiced it at night because they let her in, and she learned the switchboard by memory.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, and so she worked to support her own children despite the fact that she just lost her sight.
That's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah, but she was also like a very, very Pollyanna optimistic person on that side, you know. There was there was always a solution.
Mhm, mhm. And I think that's part of the whole thing of being positive. Again, when we're grateful, we're looking for the positive things, looking for the
Mhm.
things that we can be grateful for, and not letting things get you down so much. It's really, um, so what if it's a big stormy day, whatever. I love those because those are the days I like to stay in and read. Like, okay, how many opportunities do I have that? Or, if the internet goes down, oh, heaven forbid, we could actually, read a book. You might have to get a candle out if the lights go out. That happens a fair amount here in the Midwest where the power goes out and, big storms and stuff. And I think, and when you were talking about your goals, I think when you're grateful and when you're positive, for sure, the way you look at life is different. I mean, your brain just totally, it flips. You look at life differently. So therefore everything is a possibility. How
Yeah.
can, instead of, oh, I can't do that. Well, what's a way that I could? And, they teach you in some different training things that if you ask yourself the question, well, what if I could, how would that work? Or if
Yeah.
you would believe that, what would that look like? Because then your brain starts to think of ways to make those things happen. Kathy gave
Yeah.
a great words of wisdom the other day. If y'all were on, if you haven't looked at, you should go back into Fun Fearless. And she was talking about, oh, I've tried everything. I thought it was great, Kathy, by the way. She says, oh, you hear people say, oh, I've tried everything. I just can't, blah, 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 whatever it is. Well, no, you just haven't tried the right thing yet. Edison, whatever it was, he had 1,000 ways for the light bulb not to work, right? So
Yeah.
and that's
10,000
what he
ways.
said.
Yeah.
I found 1,000 ways it didn't work. So it just means you haven't done it yet, because your mind when you reach those situations, ask yourself, well, if I could, what would it look like? Switch that out. So, well, maybe there is a possibility, or go ask somebody else. Maybe they can see it, reach out to a mentor and say, is there another way to look at this? I don't see any options. I don't see another way. And then be grateful for that person that you had that you could ask.
Yeah. Yeah. So this has brought us to the top of the hour very fast.
It has, it has. So everybody, I put in the chat box, what's something today for which you are grateful? You want to put just a quick point in there, or just in thinking, it doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be a big thing, it could be a little thing. I'm glad I woke up this morning. I'm glad I got to see Lisa. Glad to be with all of you.
And one of the exercises that somebody taught me, and I love this, is he said that when you write your gratitude journal, don't use the same thing all the time. You have to use something different you're grateful for each time. So you start really getting into different things. It was like, well, I'm grateful somebody invented the toothbrush, And
There you go. There you go.
but it was funny because it made you start to focus on your, like I said, the mindset of being now, because it makes you look through your whole day for little things. 'Cause you can't use the same thing. You can't keep saying I'm grateful for my kids or something like that. You gotta
Wow.
word it differently. So
Yeah, and being, I'm grateful for my family. Yes. Well, what about your family? Take it.
yeah, you have to be specific.
Yeah, be more specific. And I think that's a great, actually having the gratitude, just on your computer every night before you go to bed. What were you grateful for that happened today? What was something today that set it
Yeah, it
apart?
had to
Hey,
happen
Barb,
today.
good for you. Yay, you. That's awesome. Barb is a Mary Kay consultant, and we used to work together in Mary Kay, so it was really fun. So yay, you. Go
That's
for it,
awesome.
girl. We had it. So here in the apartment, out on the, there's a porch, not a porch, what do you call it? Balcony. And I don't think I'd ever seen up close an actual cardinal. And this bird was so beautiful. It was so
Yeah.
red. I mean, I've seen pictures of them and I've seen them kind of further away, but this one was like right there. And it was so beautiful. Wow. And yesterday also, there was a hawk that flew across. And I'm like, I don't think I've ever even seen a hawk. It's like, wow. So that for yesterday, I thought that was really cool. I was just grateful to have that experience on there. So think
Yeah.
about that this week, you guys. How about every day this week? Set a little goal for yourself. And did they say in the survey, write 6 things you're grateful for or 5 things you're grateful? Did it give a number?
They suggested 3 to 5.
Okay, so that'll be your goal for the week, y'all. Write down 3 to 5 things, and doesn't matter. It could be on your phone, could be on a piece of paper, it could be in an actual journal, could be a spiral notebook, whatever.
Yeah, I use it because I have my 5 things that I'm supposed to accomplish for the day, but off to the side I have my notes area, and I write my 3 things down for the day in that, and so I keep those, and I can come back to them and write them into my journal eventually. So
the other really good thing about writing them down is the fact that there are days when you're just down. There are going to be those days when you just don't feel good. You're out of
that's
sorts.
okay.
And it is, because you know what you can do? Go back to your journal and look at all those things that you've been writing down that you're grateful for. And I'm saying you will begin to feel better because you're focusing on all these positive things, these blessings that you've had. Whatever it is, if you went back a couple of weeks or a month or even last year, whatever, depending on how long you've kept them or once you start. So when you look at it, then it begins to make you grateful when you see God's faithfulness and how, little blessings, little or big blessings have been coming your way all the time. So
it is. It's a great refresher for you.
Yeah, it really is. Gloria Helmer, good girl. It is so good to see you. We got to get a gathering together somewhere so I can see some of y'all in person. I love that. But thank you for being on today, and Barb, of course, and any of the others of you that have not posted that you're here, but thank you for being here, because as Lisa said, we are at the top of the hour. Debbie Duval, good morning. Nice to see you as well. And of course, Miss Kathy, thank you so much. All right, you guys, I love it that you're here. I'm very grateful. Lisa and I are both grateful that you come in on these Tuesday mornings. As we said, we're in our 6th year of doing this. And I've had several people say, well, are you going to keep doing it? And said, well, yeah, why wouldn't I? So yes, we're still here. And we're going to just keep going until whenever, I don't know, until we don't, I guess. It's about the only way I'm going to say it. So, all right, you guys, life is not a matter of chance. It is a matter of choice. And you can choose to be grateful, or you can choose to look at negativity. So what are you going to choose this week? Choose to be grateful, choose to be positive, and choose to have a fabulous week. Thank y'all so much. Love you, and see you next week. Bye now. And all right, here we go. Bye.